to go ahead and call the meeting to order at 6 o'clock. If we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let's see, so we have everybody present, except for one of our student representatives, Cecilia.
No, she's coming in.
Oh, she's not coming in, sorry. This is where I could put my sunglasses on, but I just skipped over it and see if you could pop in there. So we have everybody, so it's great. Everybody's in attendance tonight. We're gonna go ahead and start with a motion to approve the agenda as presented. So moved. Motion by Dina.
Second.
Second by Amy. Any discussion? Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, and Mr. Stumpf, are you doing the referendum update?
We're starting with Eric Anderson from ATSR, and we're gonna tag team this. So.
All right.
Eric, hi, you all know Eric, right? He's been presenting meetings before. So I think Eric's plan is to do monthly updates, especially for these first couple months while we're in the design process. And at some point we'll switch over to construction process. But for now, I think his plan is to be remotely for the first couple months. And Eric, any other opening statements, or should we just jump to the presentation?
Yeah, just congratulations on a successful referendum. That's just a wonderful, wonderful feat, and we're now get to take the steps of design and making these projects come to life. So we're excited for that. So congratulations.
So I'm going to just present. I'm not going to share my screen because then it makes it smaller. So I'm just going to have it on the big screen. So here we go. Slide 2, school board update agenda. I'll let you run it from here.
All right, there's a few things that we're going to cover tonight. First of all, I'd like to go over the schedule with you. The overall kind of outline of the project schedule, and then we'll get into more specifically the design schedule. We've been working very hard to get everything lined up and get all the people in the room at the same time. So that's no small task, and we've got a lot of those pieces in place, which is wonderful. I'll also kind of explain the design team format and kind of how the workflow will occur as we are interacting with your teachers and your staff, and kind of how that'll all look. We'll also talk a little bit about, actually Kurt's going to cover this portion of the slides. We'll cover a little bit about an update on bringing a construction manager on board, and then we'll look quickly at some of the initial schematic design layouts that we're looking at. So those are the 4 primary areas that I'd like to cover with our group tonight, and let's begin, I guess. And if there are any questions, I do have a second screen up here, and I can see different ones. I can see you on your cameras, so
Great.
Please raise your hand or do whatever, or just start talking. That'd be fine too. All right, so the project schedule outline. So as we're designing a project, I don't know how many of you have gone through the design process before, but as designers, we go through basically 3 design steps. We'll start with what we call schematic design, where we're looking primarily at the space program and just sort of a high level plan that just starts to give us an understanding of where the pieces are going to go in relation to the existing building. How does it interact with the site? And a lot of these discussions we did have prior to the referendum. We did bring a few of these groups together just to make sure that we were heading down the right track. So that has kind of helped kickstart our process these last few weeks. We also do a budget check. So many of the groups that we met with, all the groups that we met with, we talked very specifically about the square footage, because the square footage budget is what we're using to make sure that we're not over designing, we're not designing too much space, but yet we are, and not going over financial budget, of course, too, but also that we're right sizing the spaces that we need to add. So there was a lot of discussion about that and some really good discussion about that over the past couple of weeks. Then after we complete schematic design, we'll move into what we call design development. And now we're starting to look more carefully at the plans and develop them. We'll be looking at like doors and windows and casework and anything that's attached to the walls, where the natural light's coming from, how the supervision of the spaces will occur. And we'll start developing the plans, the interior elevation. So all of those designs will happen in that design development. You'll start to see some renderings. So we'll start to give you some images of what the spaces could look like, and then we'll start to coordinate the equipment. So especially in CTE, where we've got a lot of equipment that needs to get integrated into the design, we want to make sure those spaces are ventilated properly, that we've got all the power requirements checked off, and everything's a go. We will also have a large meeting with the schools, where we will talk about the building systems, everything from roofing to mechanical systems to electrical systems, intercoms, clocks, the whole gamut, and Wi-Fi and all of those pieces. And so we'll start to bring that together in design development. Again, we will do another budget check and again check our square footages, update our anticipated construction cost factors, and make sure that we're bringing this thing all together on time and on budget. That's our goal. After we get through design development, we will move into construction documents. These are the construction documents that the contractors will bid, the plans and specifications, and so they will bid from these documents. They will also execute the work through these documents. As we're drawing and pulling together all these details and all of these materials, all of the engineering will be occurring. Our structural engineers, electrical engineers, civil engineers, mechanical engineering, plumbing engineering, all of that will be happening during that construction document period again. And then of course we'll do another budget check at that time. We just want to do a reality check, make sure again that the systems that we have designed want to ensure that we're on budget, and that we're not putting ourselves at risk of going over. And then of course the last three steps of the process, where we will go through a bid process with our construction manager. And of course, we'll go through construction and we'll work with the construction manager on sequencing the projects, which part of the projects will happen first, and second and third, and so on and so forth, until the entire work scope is built out. And then finally, occupancy, when you get to start using those great spaces, and then ultimately we'll follow up with the district after for a 12 or 11-month walkthrough for your 12-month warranty items. So that will all be part of that process. Any questions on this outline? There's a lot of steps here, but happy to answer any questions.
Actually, I think it might be. Can I make a suggestion? Mm-hmm. Can you go through maybe the next slide, because the next slide goes into more detail and sort of encompasses this one, I think, if that's okay.
Yep. Yeah. So did you advance already?
Yep. Nope, I'm doing that right now.
Okay, so let's see. So this is the design schedule as we've kind of worked through it with Kurt and his team. Like I say, we've started schematic design. So we went through on the 19th and the 22nd. We had a series of meetings. What will be happening next are some site visits. Many of the different design team groups are going to be going out to spaces that are beyond your community, see what the neighbors are doing, see what some spaces that are recommended to look at. Ultimately, the message to all of the design teams is really that this is an opportunity to not just look in the mirror, but also look out the window and see what the possibilities are, and see if there's some better ways of doing teaching and learning. So that's kind of the charge for those folks that are going on those site visits, and we're excited to see what gets reported. We will do a schematic, basically a schematic design set, which is a culmination of all of the design up to the schematic design level. That will be posted at the end of this week, and then we will start to dive into design development. Now, the real challenge here, of course, was to try to get teachers to be available before the school year was out, which is tricky when there's only 1 month left. But I think we can meet with them twice. We've got two additional meetings set up for May, and then we will also try to, between the second and third meeting, we're going to meet with that district's have the district systems meeting. So with your district representative Mike and his teams to work on those, and then we're going to need to bring back the design teams one time this summer. And so it'll be, and I apologize, there's a typo there. That should be the 6th, the 26th and the 27th of June is what we've targeted right now. We'll also do a design development set, what we call all of the design development materials that we've pulled together. And this will ultimately be the first pricing set that we will give the construction manager. And so they'll take our DD documents and start to put some prices to it from their perspective, which is super helpful. Then we will from the ATS&R design side, we'll go quiet for a little while. So kind of around the 4th of July, we're going to go quiet as far as you're concerned. You won't see us around the buildings very much, as we'll be starting the engineering and coordination of all of this work. So we'll work to get that construction document set underway. But after the teachers come back next fall, we're going to meet with everyone one more time, and we will be in construction documents, but we're going to call it as a DD follow-up, or design development follow-up. And ultimately, we just want to clarify with all of the groups the what's in the project and what's not in the project, and just confirm the place that we're in with the design. There would still be opportunities to make changes and revisions at that point. It's not that's not impossible. In fact, that's a very practical time to do it. So we will have one last meeting then to clarify all of that design work with them, and then looking to issue for bids just before Halloween, and open the bids just after Thanksgiving to begin construction for the following summer of 2026. The bidding and construction schedules, those are placeholders in my mind. Again, I want to work carefully with our construction managers and make sure that we are timing the market properly, making sure that we're spacing the projects properly, where we're able to get some good bids for both the elementary and the high school, middle school projects. So that's the outline and the schedule that we got going so far. Any questions about that?
Any questions from the board? Sure.
Madam Chair. Thanks, Eric. Nice work. I've got about 3 or 4 questions for you. Some clarifications, a couple I can't recall. What is our current agreement with you right now? Are we under an AIA document, or is it a consulting agreement?
We have an AIA agreed.
Okay, are you the inspecting architect then?
Yes, sir.
And you're scoped under that too, and what are we, is it a percentage of the total job is what we're, okay, here's the reason why I asked these. And I think you probably have answered my question about whether or not we're gonna go back to these interest groups, these focus groups. Throughout this process, we heard stories about how our science rooms aren't very effective because they don't have the gas, the water, the things that are necessary in there to do scientific experiments or do instruction. Are we going back to revisit those, or do we have those pretty well scoped?
Eric, you want me to answer that one real quick?
Yeah, why don't you take that one, Kurt?
So, real quick, and we'll get into it
Well,
next, but we have, I believe, 11 different design teams, and I'll just read them off for
okay,
for
yeah,
people.
thank you, that'll probably answer all the questions.
Food service, building maintenance, parking and traffic flow, activities, career technical and trades, theater, early childhood, high school office, culinary, arts, high school science.
Thank you, all my questions just got answered.
Look at that.
How about that? Beautiful.
Yes, okay,
Okay.
other questions?
Final question.
Kurt?
That
Are you-
wasn't all of them then.
Just know about that, that's
I
good.
got it, okay.
Next one is money. What's your involvement in the process of draw requests, inspecting the work completed, that sort of thing? I can't recall what we did last time when we had the 30-some million.
So I can take a stab at that one if you want as well, Eric. So this one is just about the architectural
Oh, I'm sorry, okay.
work.
Well,
No, but this is a preview. So next Monday, a week from tonight, we have another board meeting. It might be a special meeting, I'm not sure. But either way, Michael Hart is going to be here in person.
Okay.
And Heidi Hagen will be here, whether remotely or in person, and they will walk through the board, the financial decisions that this board is going to have to make.
and then, Eric, is it gonna be any different than a typical construction job for a big box store? I mean, where we're gonna have a percentage of work in place, and you'll authorize that under a draw request, and as the inspecting architect, you'll have the obligation to make sure that the amount of work performed is commensurate with what the amount being paid, subs getting paid, collections, all that other mess? Lien,
Absolutely, yes. Oh, I'm sorry.
lien waivers, that kind of thing, the regular process.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we'll go through all of the proper, pay app requests and verification of those pay apps. That'll be part of the construction manager's burden, just to verify that all of the work has been done, and that the materials are on site, that they're requesting payment for, and all of that. I have submitted an additional, draw schedule, to Michael, for his use right now,
Oh,
and,
good.
and a lot of that's just based on, a typical construction project with kind of more activity during the summers, and then it quiets down a little bit, and then more activities during the next summer. So there's a little ebb and flow in that, but again, ultimately, we'll be working with the CM to fine tune that and make sure that we get that flow figured out.
Based on that projection, do we have enough money?
Yes, sir.
All right,
I hope that was a joke.
Let's pause.
Goofing
Let's
off,
just go,
I
yeah, I
forgot my
know.
other.
Let's pause. Let's see if anybody else has other questions. You can think. Other questions?
Ah, darn, I had another question, shoot.
Should we keep going?
I know.
Well, let's keep going. The only other thing that I'll mention,
Well, do you wanna get to the end of it, or do you have something?
Well,
more?
while I'm thinking of it here, do you mind? Have we gone back to the state of Minnesota so we don't have any surprise exit doors or vestibules, halfway through the project?
No, that will be part of the design development, is to get that right with them. Absolutely.
Well, let's make sure they look at it twice. I mean, we still
Yep,
have a real
yep.
thorn in my side at the event center.
Yep,
Thank you.
yes, sir.
the only other thing that I'll add is, it was clear from some groups that have been through this process before, the idea of listening from our architect side is extremely important. And before, some of our teachers felt maybe they listened, but things were changed without any notification and anything in the long run. So that feedback, back and forth, and communication is important. And the last thing I'll point out is we did have our first group take a site visit today. Career Technology and Trades, Woods Metals, Robotics took a site visit to 3 schools today and started that process. And we'll continue through the end of May.
Okay, final comment. The reason I asked about the pay structure and that sort of thing is that's exactly it. I would like to see us go back and revisit with each one of these stakeholder groups and make doggone sure that everybody knows we're serious this time. Okay, so think about what you really need, so we don't miss that. Thank you.
Why don't we continue and then we'll pause for questions again?
Great.
Yes.
All right, Kurt, you wanna go to the next slide
Yep,
then?
design team format.
design team format. So this is just a very simple diagram. Kurt listed off all of the district design teams that we're gonna be working with. And we'll work with them all in small groups, just to help, kind of focus the time and the energy on those areas that they have the interest in. Then we will also have what we're calling a steering committee. And that will be comprised of administration and presumably some board members. I don't know, Kurt, if you've had that conversation yet.
You finish
but-
and we'll come back to it.
Okay, and then, so the steering committee, that charge there is to ultimately keep an eye on those design team groups. And there could be some things that come out of those design teams where a tough decision is needed, and that steering committee can provide that guidance to us, the architects and engineers. And I don't know what that could be at this time, but any sort of deviation from the plan, we want to make sure that we are clearing that with the steering committee and make sure that everyone's on board. Ultimately, the steering committee will then would then recommend to the executive committee, and many of the executive team, in fact, the executive team is on the steering committee, so in some ways there's a lot of overlap between the first big circle and the second big circle. But the executive committee will be the group that would then make those final recommendations to the school board for the design and everything that's encompassed in it.
The quick things that I'll add, you saw in my notes, the board that board chair Bowles Andalchik will be appointing to some board members, so reach out to her if you want to serve on the steering committee. The first meeting is scheduled for May 8th at 4:15. Second one tentatively scheduled May 21st at 2:30. So you're going to see them, most of them are during some school hours, a little bit after school. We do have administrators there, and then we preferably construction management when they get on board, and architects and engineers.
When's that first meeting?
May 8th, 4:15.
Yeah, so I would ask in the next 2 days if you do have interest, email me.
And we see, I think in this diagram, what we're still trying to flush out is that executive committee. It's, for instance, Heidi and I met with Eric and PMA at Michael Hart. If you want to qualify that as an executive committee, that might be it, but, and they might look differently as we go throughout this process, but there you go. Eric, should we move on?
Yep, construction manager.
Yep, and I'm taking this one, I think.
Yep, this is all yours, man.
Remember, we have an RFP out, they're due next Monday. We did decide last week that we're willing to do walkthroughs with all interested firms, so today Mike Renford and I actually spent an hour and a half with 2 different firms. And more scheduled this week, I think 2 tomorrow and a couple at the end of the week. So my guess is we're gonna have at least 6 submissions for RFP. By May 5th, we plan to review them as a team. I've got a group including Mike Renford, Heidi Hagan, myself, Eric Anderson, there's 1 or 2 other, and we would invite board members. I think Kim, that was in this as well, that board members are welcome to serve on that, on the review team. And then interviews are scheduled for the selected firms that make it past the review phase on May 14th. A recommendation of the board is to be determined. It could be as soon as that Monday, which would be May 19th, a possible recommendation to the board for construction management. So, Chair, are you good with this, or do you want to briefly?
Yeah, I think we're good. I mean, I think it's pretty well laid out, so I'd say just email. Again, these are 2 separate things, so just so everybody's aware.
So 2 separate, as in steering committee is people, and then if these 2 teams are different people, so
Yes.
they can email you if they're interested. That's what
Yes.
you're saying.
Yep.
Perfect. Eric, did I leave anything off on construction management?
Nope, that was it.
Perfect. Then we go CTE edition.
All right, the CTE edition. So these are the schematic design plans, and you see that they've got big blue stars in the corner. So we had given several options to the different groups that we met with, and again at this level, a very high level schematic design. Ultimately, what we're looking for is how big is that area that we're gonna be, in this case, adding. Um, and, we went through the whole program with them, and then where should that addition go? And we did quite a bit of work on this addition. You'd remember, um, before the last referendum, we had the addition on the other side of the building even. But we have confirmed that this is the right location for this CTE addition. And we have confirmed that all of the spaces, we've got those all quantified. They are still working on some of those sizes with us, but they understand the parameters, and we'll continue to work together to make sure that we get all our bases covered. So next is the high school and science edition, which we had planned to kind of go stretch between the auditorium and the high school gym and the aux gym. And that is still the location where this will happen. We ultimately want that front door to be very visible from the parking lot. I know there's a lot of confusion. A lot of people try to go in those activity doors after schools has started, and so that seems to be the natural spot for a high school office. So we're working on the development of this area and this roughly this square footage that's associated with it. And then the renovations on the inside of the building, sort of different. We have this is the next slide,
Yep.
Kurt. We've got different levels of renovation occurring, and this is all straight from the review and comment also. But we'll be doing some major renovations in that metals and woods area that's being vacated by CTE, and we're turning that into the FACS and the art areas, which there's some great opportunities. Our team, our architectural design team met just this morning and starting to do some layouts on that, so that's really exciting to see. We'll be renovating the arts area and the existing fax lab, a few of the additional classrooms. We've got a lot of locker rooms that are going to get some lockers added, and not including the middle school lockers, which are going to be upsized a little bit for proper winter gear. We've got some toilet rooms that we're going to update. We're going to be expanding the kitchen serving area to help the flow in the hallway there during serving times. Trying to get more of the students off of that road and relieve some of that pressure. We'll be repurposing the existing high school office to some other purposes whether it be guidance or other support services as we are developing the addition, the high school addition. And then finally, the auditorium, updating all of the auditorium, the seating, the finishes, the sound systems, the rigging, the flooring, all of that full upgrade of that auditorium theater space. All right, and then the early childhood edition at Eagleview. Some of you would remember that at one point in time we had the addition planned over the playground area, and we had some good discussions this last fall related to that, and ultimately determined that there's a little nook here where we can stick in a 2-story addition with the classroom spaces up on the first floor and the multi-purpose space or the large motor space down on the lower floor. And then what that will inherently do is give us a second stairwell or an additional stairwell point to connect the upper floor with the lower floor. So that was something that was desired, and we can check that box by putting the addition in this location. Again, we've gone through all of the program, the space program with the teachers and the leadership group, and have started to refine all of that, and we're starting to work on those layouts now. And then hopping over to the middle school, multipurpose space. This was the location that was identified in the review and comment. We did test a few other spaces and talk through it a little bit on the, I guess it'd be on the west side of the building in that parking lot, and kind of pushing it back and forth. And it was determined that the best spot for it is where it was originally planned with the review and comment. So we'd get the multipurpose space. There's some storage space associated with that, and some circulation to maintain that exiting from the existing building through the multipurpose, because ultimately it's going to go right in front of a door. So we need to make sure that that can be all be maintained. All right, and then looking at the sites, we talked about the sites at both buildings, but at the secondary school, we looked at the parking lots that we're going to be adding, the fields that are going to get impacted. We looked at the new press box, looked at that area, and just confirmed all of this scope with the teams, repaving some of the parking lot. Demoing the Echo building and putting a parking lot in that location as well. And then as we're starting to develop all these site pieces, we will be working on the natural flow and trying to improve that, all of the traffic flow that occurs on this site in any given time or activity. So that'll be a big job when that day comes, but that's what we're going to be setting up to do. And then at the elementary school, at Eagle View, we confirmed the parking lot expansions and repaving, getting a fence between the playground equipment and the parking lot, just to help for safety and security. We talked about pickup and drop off. We talked about that roundabout. That ultimately is in the county's court, and but Kurt will be reaching out to them to.
I'll give an update here after you're done.
Okay, thank you, Kurt. And yeah, and then we'll be reseeding the grass areas, and getting that grass to come back, and getting the irrigation systems up and running again, and getting things painted. And from what I understand, I was in one of the conversations about the new playground equipment that's being done outside of our scope, the architect's scope, and that's certainly appropriate. But I believe those wheels are already in motion too. So that's exciting stuff as well. All right.
A couple other quick notes before we move on from the side. This was the old version of the early childhood edition.
Yeah.
It's actually changed locations, and then also out at Eagle View, we're turning locker rooms the inside the locker rooms are showers that don't get used at Eagle View. So that's where our freezer storage is going to go, in the shower that's closest to the kitchen, and then storage in the other one. And then Eagle View is getting other maintenance items addressed, such as roofing, carpet, boiler, I believe, lighting, and you don't see that in this map, but there's a lot more maintenance stuff out at Eagle View.
Yeah, between the two projects, there's over $12 million worth of deferred maintenance that's going to get checked off the list, and I think that's just wonderful. It's going to put the district in a wonderful position moving forward with the condition of your buildings. So
I'm going to pause and just, do you mind if I address the County Road 11 conversation? So, without going into great detail, I think the district and the county have had some relationship to study this in the past. A comprehensive study has not happened for whatever reason. I don't need to relitigate why it didn't. But we're at this point. We met with the county on Friday, and since then I talked to both our Pequot Lakes mayor and Breezy Point mayor between Friday and today. And the next step we would be looking to do is actually doing a study. We can all think roundabout may or may not be the best option. I'm not a traffic designer at all. So we would actually spend a year figuring out what the best traffic control method is for Eagle View and accessing County Road 11. And then we would figure out what that is, and then end up hopefully, acting upon that if it's within our financial means. So it's a year process. I guess the thing that we're looking for now, between what Tim Bray and the county said and our meeting with them, is just to see if the cities are on board about creating an RFP. We would go out for an RFP for firms saying, hey, here's the work that we want to get done on the traffic study. And then after we select an RFP, that's when some financial commitment from the district would take over. Probably in the $20,000 to $30,000 range to do the study itself. And so that would of course come before the board at some point. But I think in the interim, I'm going to just work with the county, the city of Pequot Lakes, the city of Breezy Point, and saying, what would this even look like? And then we would bring that agreement before this board to approve the RFP, and then if there's a financial commitment, we'd come back later to do that. Okay with that?
Yeah.
Then you can keep going. Oh, and then we got questions.
Questions from the board?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
As a result of this plan, how many increased or decreased parking spots are available at the secondary high school?
At the secondary, we're looking at about 80 additional parking spots.
Thank you.
Can I pause a little bit there? That's what we have on here. I'm not sure if that's coming to fruition or not. Because, as you can see, the middle school multi-purpose space is going to cut into a parking lot. So some different traffic flow is going to have to happen. Might be a loss of parking there. There is definitely, some snow removal, site issues that we're gonna have to work around when we lose that big of a parking lot where we put snow banks already. So I know Eric is more confident it's 80. I'm not as confident it's a plus 80, to be honest with you.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
Fair enough.
real quick question, because you rattled through the 11 groups, is one of them traffic and parking?
Yes.
Okay, so we can rest assured that people are working on the traffic flow for the middle school drop-off and pickup. And with the new CTE and entrance, how that's gonna impact the high school parking lot, cause I see that's not gonna be able to stay the same. Okay.
Yep.
Perfect.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Back to the parking issue, I guess it's a good time as any to share the information. Just talked to Aaron before we came to the meeting tonight. We're gonna be short 40 parking passes. We've issued every pass that corresponds with a parking spot in the facility. And it's cyclical, and every year we end up short 40, right around the April and May timeframe because of the growth in our community, student community, and getting their driver's license and things, so. We also have a lot of issues, according to Aaron, that people are off-site or students have purchased a parking pass, and have the expectations of having a decent parking spot accordingly. And we don't always get there, okay? So we have some unhappy customers in that capacity. So I'd say our parking situation is not the best, according to Aaron.
Other questions? I just have a question, Eric, on the secondary, where the parking, I know it's the same design, but in the back, there's yellow. Is that just updates?
Yeah, that's repavement. There are some drainage issues back there which we'll try to attend to. But yes, there's just some well-worn pavement back there that needs to be attended to. But
That's what I
that
thought,
is
but
part of the.
yeah, I just wanted to make sure it wasn't anything other than that. So.
Well, Madam Chair, that's where the bus pickup and drop-off will be moving to, or is that not us?
I don't think that's set in stone. I don't
Okay.
believe so at this
That
time.
was just a conversation in the
It was.
past.
Yep.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
what is this plus 70 parking right here?
That's the new law.
There are some parking spots, well, not there, it's basically some ditch parking that has occurred over time for events at the fields and such. And we'll be formalizing that with some pavement and some curb. So we will be getting, you will get some more formalized parking down there.
Or the back?
In the back, yeah. so-
Yeah.
and then some-
Yep.
Well, yeah, that's more than a need for parking, that's a safety issue. Because we get cars and third graders running around, it's amazing we haven't had a tragedy there.
And then I had one more question. So for the roundabout at Eagle View, is the district solely responsible for paying for the traffic study?
That's a good question, I'll take that one. No, again, just rough estimates, because we have not done anything, but, a possible, cost for, an actual traffic study might be in the neighborhood of 80,000. And so we would say, well, the county's going to pay this much, probably the largest portion would pay the second largest, and see what the city's involvement is. I think we would know sort of what our involvement is after we actually detail what should be in an RFP and what we're asking a firm to do in response to it. And I know we've talked about our roundabout, but I want to make sure when you're having conversations with our public, that's not the necessarily direction that we need. I think we need to slow down and ensure that whatever we do, there's research and data and there's feedback from our parents and from our community. Whether it's a Breezy Point resident who doesn't visit our school, but it uses that road all the time. So that's the purpose of doing the study, and which creates a little bit of a conundrum, because that study could last a year, and yet the design of this is gonna keep moving forward, so we gotta figure out how and when those two meet up then. So we don't end up doing this and decide, well, actually it'd be better to have parking somewhere else and different traffic flow on the site. So something that we're aware of.
Any final questions from the board? Obviously, we're gonna continually have updates on this project as we go through the year, but.
I guess my last comment, I don't know if you've heard these questions from community members, but how about shortened school year? And for summer construction is what some schools do. And I would say anything that changes the school calendar would come before this board, which is not atypical in construction, but it just hasn't been discussed in either administratively or the board level. So those discussions would ultimately come to the board.
Any final questions? Okay, I think we are good. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
Yep, my pleasure. Have a good night.
You too. All right, we are moving on. We have an early childhood presentation, so Mr. Stump, I'll let you tee that up.
Yeah, they can make their way up. We have Shannon Wheeler and April Kinney to just give you an overview of early childhood. It's one of the programs that people might not have a great understanding of, and yet it's highly impactful of what we do at that level. And so this is meant to give you an overview of the program. We'll take questions at the end, so I will lead this, and if you want any more of an introduction, or if you want to go on there.
No, that's great, thank you, Madam Chair, Mr. Stump. Thanks for having us. Yeah, so we're just gonna take some time to go over early childhood, as we might be able questions with this referendum being passed. Our purpose today, we're gonna introduce the early childhood department, share what we do and who we serve, and highlight the value of early learning. So our students and families that we serve, early childhood serves children ages birth through 5 years old and their families. This year, we've had 75 families in ECFE programming, 18 families in early intervention, 91 preschoolers 3 to 5 years old, and we've screened 79 students. And those are fairly typical numbers for our year. And those categories aren't very clear. We'll kind of get into more detail what those what those categories tie to in our overall program. All of our classrooms are integrated. We have a span of 20 to 40% of students receiving special education services in our classrooms. And we see about 50 to 60% of our kindergarten class prior to starting kindergarten, which is a great percentage, but we're always striving to do a higher percentage. So this, goes over kind of our programs, because sometimes it's not always clear all the different things that come out of our early childhood department. So parent and child classes are our early childhood family education, or ECFE classes. We have preschool classes for kids aged 3 to 5 years old. We do our early childhood screening. We do evaluations for special education services. We have our early intervention teacher who does home visits in provides special education services to kids that are birthed through 2 years old, up to 3 years old. And that's in the home, and then we also have related services through the co-op, speech services, OT, PT. Within the last few years, we've really focused on outreach programs, coming out of various reasons, one being our space is full, and two, increasing accessibility, just being in the communities, perhaps seeing if that makes it easier for families to come to us in a different space versus the school. Here's our team from this fall. So we have, if you start to look at funding streams into early childhood, you're gonna see different buckets. And so I always say we're all early childhood, and then there's these different compartments to early childhood. Early childhood family education, ECFE, the staff we have under that is an ECFE teacher and a parent educator. We have preschool teachers teaching three-year-old preschool and 4-year-old preschool, April being one of them. Early child special education, we have that one early intervention teacher who serves birth up to 3 years old in homes, and then 2 ECSE teachers in the school, so providing services in the school setting. And then our other service providers through the co-op. I'm one coordinator, and then we have 6 paras supporting classrooms throughout the day. What we are seeing now is our ECFE registrations have increased pretty greatly over the last 4 years. Now recognizing that the 4 years ago was the year after COVID, and so families weren't doing as much outside the home. So we had really low numbers that year, but we have increased them pretty greatly over the last few years by adding programming. And this is also not necessarily a unique registration, like this isn't counting like new families, this is counting like how many registrations have these families enrolled. So many of our families are doing many of our programs, but that's telling us that families really like coming here, and they are feeling welcomed and valued, and we're meeting more families earlier in their parenting journey, which is really important, and having that great experience, because often we are their first experience in the school district. There's some data here on meeting or exceeding proficiency measures. So currently, on average over the last 4 years, 73% of our students are meeting or exceeding our proficiency measures in our 4-year-old program. And our 3-year-old program has increased pretty greatly over the last few years as well. A large part of this is removing barriers. A few years ago, we had a parenting component as a part of this 3-year-old preschool, which made it hard for a lot of families. You had to have a parent available to come to parenting class during the day. We removed that from it, and also added transportation. So this is our first year, this school year is our first year we've had 3-year-olds can access the same transportation opportunities that our 4-year-olds can. Another huge barrier for a lot of families, so that has increased our participation in our 3-year-old program. Some challenges we're navigating are we have a limited space. All of our classrooms are full in the early childhood end all day, except for one room where we run our self-contained classroom opens up in the afternoons. And so we've been doing some ECFE programming out of that, but that will likely change next year because that classroom will be full both morning and afternoon. We are continually pivoting our programs to meet what the community is telling us they want to see, and so every spring we are reassessing, reevaluating, adding programs, adjusting schedules, adding transportation. So it's a challenge, but it's also a great opportunity. And then the unpredictable funding year to year for early childhood. Through these funding streams such as early learning scholarships and voluntary preschool, or you might hear it as voluntary pre-K. We have applied for voluntary pre-K funding for several years in the past. We historically do not get awarded it. Last week, we received an email saying we've been awarded 40 seats based on reallocation of seats, so districts can turn over seats that they don't use for that school year. Then DCYF redistributes them through districts that are either underfunded or not funded at all. So we got an email saying that we were funded 40 spots for this current school year, and we have a lot to learn about that still, and what that will look like. But these are the kind of the streams that the state kind of puts out there to help bridge this gap in funding, because we do get school readiness funding as well, but it's not enough to cover the cost. So the future, these new learning spaces through this referendum will really help us be able to increase our programming, either through increased options or increased duration. Deepening our family engagement, so that kind of ties back to that opportunity of the challenge of continuously adjusting our program based on what our community needs. This year, after this school year, all of our teaching staff will be trained in EC letters, and so we're excited to start looking to implement these research-based practices to build strong foundational skills for every young learner. And then we continue to look to expand and work towards expanding our outdoor play and learning opportunities, because we know that high quality early childhood education has an outdoor component. The state has really invested a lot in supporting districts to expand their outdoor and increase their outdoor learning opportunities. And so slowly each year we continue to tick away at that. And then the power of early investment. So you may know these facts, but I think it's always powerful to realize that 90% of a child's brain develops by the age of 5, which is an incredible window of opportunity and responsibility. These are the years that children's brains are literally being wired for future learning, relationships, behaviors. So if we do that well, we see that investment pay off years and years. And so yeah, when we're investing early, we are investing not only in the child but the community, because they do better with high quality learning experiences. Do you have anything to add?
Yeah.
I was just here for moral support.
Well, we appreciate the presentation. We'll see if there's any questions. I was just gonna say though, I appreciate you guys continuing to evolve the program. I was a fortunate parent. My children had Miss April way back when, in the old building, but I think my kids went through all of them from birth to 5. So I think for folks who haven't gone through, ECFE, it's such a great experience for families, like you said, but I also just think not many schools have such a high population of students that are in their system before they ever hit kindergarten. And I think it's a testament to the work you guys have done and the work we continue to invest in early childhood, because as we know, it's not fully funded, so it's partially funded and our families fund it. But I just want to thank everybody who continues to invest in the program, because I think it's one of our most powerful opportunities to get students early and families. So thank you guys. I don't really have questions, but I'm just always excited to hear about it and see all those little faces. But other questions, comments? Tina.
Ladies, how has that new parking and entrance and exit worked out? Is it been adequate?
Yeah, that's a great question. Most days it is. When we are running our afternoon ECFE class, I observed the parking lot several days to kind of watch, because what happens is sometimes our spots are full because it's at pickup, everybody's picking up at the same time. But the design of it is really beautiful in that a family can circle, and they generally didn't circle more than once, and they didn't have to wait more than it's a minute, takes more than a minute, but a couple minutes to circle. But otherwise, outside of that, there really hasn't been parking issues.
Thank you. Okay, other questions?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'd just like to make a comment, good job. I am familiar with a couple of families, I won't say their names, but they have come to the district because they've been, had referrals and discussions about our program and the EFC in particular. And they're here because of that, so that's good work on you guys' part. Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Did you have a comment, Mr.
I
Stein?
do, but does anybody else?
Go ahead.
I was gonna ask student reps, you got any comments you wanna grill them with? Yeah, exactly.
Relative to the subject.
Conflict of
All
interest.
three of us had Mrs. Kinney.
Oh.
Sweet. They all went to be good students and representatives. Well done.
I was young, I don't really remember my preschool,
Great.
but I remember.
You guys were the first year at the Eagle View
Oh, yeah,
site.
'cause I think Gus was there too.
That class.
Yeah.
If there's no questions, I will make a comment. I'll try and stay off my high horse, but I might end up on it, to be honest with you. But I think, early childhood funding, for the most part, special ed's running through our general fund, but for the most part, it again, falls under Community Service Fund 4, which is a huge balancing act for this district as, you can't raise fees for our parents extraordinarily high because then they won't participate and then we won't see the advantage of it, so you gotta find that middle ground. And when districts around us are having Head Starts or VPK, we're also in a tough situation that we wanna be competitive. So Shannon glossed over it. We did get the awarded 40 seats. We're still finding out what it means. It could mean a couple $100,000 extra just for this year for early childhood programming. I think there's still questions, but I do want to highlight their work because Shannon fills out the form every year, spends hours doing it, even though there hasn't been payback for the past 15 years, but continues to do it. So this year there happens to be a little bit of payback, but there's going to be a lot of work. It has the potential to be really messy because if we get BPK money, and correct me if I'm wrong though, but if we get BPK money, voluntary pre-K, great, these students were funded. Well, they've already paid for it, so we have to go back and refund the parents' money, from whenever we can start it. We're not sure if it's January or whether it's September, but there's a lot of work on the back end, which would be a great benefit to our parents. Let's but there is some work that's going on behind the scenes, and I want to acknowledge the staff's time, not just their time, but we got Director, Elementary Principal, and Carrie Norby in our district office. We got the email at 9:40 one night, and she was on a meeting at 9 o'clock the next day to talk about how this affects Mars. So we're trying to navigate our way through it, but it has the potential to help us.
Great.
Madam Chair, I do have a
Yes.
quick question. So can someone explain the voluntary pre-K to me? Is this something that some schools just get and then why don't we get that?
Yeah, it's a funding
Great
stream.
question.
It's a funding stream that school districts need to apply for. And based on the application, there's a rating scale that they take into consideration. So free and reduced lunch rate is taken into consideration, how close, there are other 3 or 4 star rated parent aware programs in proximity. It doesn't even matter if it's your district or not, it's a 10-mile radius. And there's another piece that's if you braid it, or if you do a mixed delivery is what it's called. So if you work with childcare to figure out how to deliver this program, then you get more points. And so there's a rating scale that our points just aren't as high as our neighboring districts or other districts in the state. And there's not enough funding to fund all the seats that would be needed for saying all of Minnesota can have voluntary pre-K funded for 4-year-olds. So it's competitive.
Yeah, apparently.
I will also add, both Shannon and I have been working with one of our local legislators, Krista Knudsen in particular, to addressed what we perceive as unfairness when in some language, in some legislation that would make it harder for us to get VPK. So she's trying to get that language moved out. And it's actually in a bill, but I'm not sure if it's gonna make the omnibus bill at the end of the session, but we're trying.
I've heard like multiple times from different avenues that like our free and reduced lunch has decreased because everyone's getting free lunches now, so are there less people filling out that form?
That's probably we could probably have a 15-minute conversation, but I think the short answer is it actually has increased because it's direct certification. So if you're on some different governmental programs and they got rid of the form for next year and it might be back, so there's still questions about how that looks moving forward.
And to be fair, it's statewide, so I think every school might have, I mean, if you wanted to neutralize it, it actually probably is similar across the state of how many people may or may not be filling it out because of that, so. I also just know we do have a lower, I mean, you go to Pine River, it's much higher, so it's just kind of one of those things, but, yeah.
Madam Chair.
Yes,
Just real quick, the funding then for these 40 spots, obviously if we refund families, it would be equally, because we have more than 40 students, right?
We actually, when I just looked at the numbers last week, it should fund everybody that's paying, because we have some students on an IEP and we have some students that are on a scholarship. Their spots are funded already through those streams, and so who's left, it should be everybody.
And that funding is more than we would be reimbursing, so we're not gonna have a net negative. Okay. Thank you, that's awesome.
any final questions? Thank you guys for coming tonight, good luck as you prep for the next school year.
Thank you.
Good work, thank you.
Okay, we are moving on to the proposed speech team trip. I'm looking for a motion to approve the speech team extended field trip to the National Individual Events Tournament of Champions in Kansas City, Missouri, May 15th through the 18th, 2025, as presented.
So moved.
Motion by Amy, second by Dina. Mr. Stump, before we dive into discussion, can you just touch on how this applies with our current policy,
Yep.
et cetera, because I know this is a national event.
It is. So this is beyond the State High School League, just like robotics going to Worlds was beyond State High School League competition. So that's why you're seeing this as an approval because that follows district policy. The one interesting piece is that we're actually saving money and talking with Angie Klein, our speech advisor. I believe we have one going, or is it's one or two going, but we're gonna carpool with Brainerd because they have two coaches and one or two going as well. So there is going to be some cost savings when we go to nationals, so. Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah.
Madam Chair, there's 3 student names on.
Oh, yeah, 3, I wasn't sure
Just
exactly.
making sure that that's what it was.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just wanted to clarify, because this is a national event, and we do have a policy that speaks to national events, so I wanted to make sure everybody understood how this is different than like a state
Yep.
championship, which is similar to robotics, you know, that went to nationals, so.
Can I also say one or two more things? Highlight our speech team, because we did win a section championship, another section championship for the school district this year, was with our speech team. And we actually have one of the members, Mr. Ryder Schultz, who qualified for state. NCC.
Well, I didn't qualify for state though.
You were in speech. So we have a list, we actually had a state runner-up. So Ryder is actually going to talk about the people who
Yeah,
did that
well,
state.
Sammy McMahon got second at state in prose, and then Zoe Huber got 5th in informal speaking. Lilia Corbett got 8th in discussion. I got 9th in extended speaking. Toby Millard got 12th in poetry, and Ethan Mosier got 14th in original oratory, which is pretty good. We got 12th as a team at state, so not bad. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, Ryder, how was it, I mean, how do certain students go to nationals on, like, how was that decided?
I'll let CC explain more.
Okay.
Well, for speech, they're technically like, this is a second national competition, so there's a normal, like, NSDA national competition, which has a specific date as a qualifier, but this is, like, NITALK is the acronym, I suppose, and that takes, you get bids throughout the season, so at certain, invitational events, if you're in like a top portion, depending on how many competitors there are, then you get a bid, and you have to get like 3, otherwise, if you don't get 3 and you get 1, then based on how you did, even at competitions that weren't like NITOC bid tournaments, then you can still make it depending on your performance, so.
Yes, so Sammy got,
Yeah.
it's 2 bids, Sammy got 2 bids, so she was an automatic qualifier. And then Toby and Mads were admitted because they did get 1 bid, and then there was still extra room, so they were admitted into the tournament as well. But it's very hard to get into, Brainerd has 1 competitor and 2 coaches going as well.
Well, congratulations to all of you with a great
Yeah.
season, and we'll root on our national folks working into this, but, questions?
Yeah, one quick one. So in the context of going to Kansas City, you say we're ride sharing with Brainerd?
Correct.
Is that a personal vehicle, or is that Brainerd's vehicle, or is that our?
It's, I think it's Brainerd's school vehicle.
Okay,
My knowledge.
just in case I get it. Just wondered. Thank you.
Other questions, comments?
Madam Chair, I have a
Yes.
question. All right, this is just, I guess, from a parent perspective. So are these 3 girls?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I was like, we're not sticking one boy in there with 2 girls, right? But they're all sharing a room? Okay. Gotcha.
Other questions? Comments?
My only other comment is, I know Angie Klein, the speech coach, is listening tonight. She said she was gonna be tuning in. I did not say she needed to be here, so I just wanna thank her for all of her work and her dedication.
Is she accompanying our
Yep.
performance, or our performers, or team, or whatever?
She's
Yep.
Good.
Yeah, and Angie, if you are listening, thank you,
Yeah, good
congrats.
work.
It's exciting and good luck. All right, any other questions or comments, otherwise we're gonna move on to a vote. Okay, all those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, next we're moving on to City of Jenkins Ball Field Duty and Responsibility Agreement, which I think is something we do annually. I'll need a motion to approve the agreement with the City of Jenkins concerning usage of the Jenkins City Ball Field, including duties and responsibilities as presented.
So moved.
Motion by Mariah. Second by Pamela. Any discussion,
We
comments?
started this we did
Was it
the
last
same,
year?
last year as it is this year. We plan to use it, I think, twice as well.
It's a great field if you haven't been.
Bill
up there.
Magnuson did say
Take
today.
a little quick by if you haven't been there, it's fabulous, like a little itty bitty field of dreams.
Questions or comments?
Thank you, Jen.
Any discussion? Okay, if none, we're gonna go ahead and take a vote on the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, we are gonna be moving into closed session. I do need a motion to close the meeting pursuant to Minnesota State Statute, section 13B.05, subdivision 3C, to discuss information regarding the property located at 4326 West Lake Street, Pequot Lakes, Minnesota.
So moved.
Motion by Amy, second by Dina. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. We are gonna move into closed session at 7:08.